What happened in qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix? Now, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, Tommy is not currently in some sort of primary school classroom. He is actually at his sister-in-law's, so apologies for the video quality being a little bit rubbish. But wow, I'm buzzing. I wore a Ferrari shirt and nothing bad happened, even though I thought I had broken everything when they were both being investigated after Q1, but we got away with it.
When that came through, I was like, of course it's only Ferrari that have done it. A new rule which I'm glad they've put in place, because I personally hate the whole dawdling around, going very slowly, and particularly at a place like Monza, it can be very dangerous. So I'm glad they got rid of it, but we'll get into it later. Maybe Ferrari just got away with one there and they were just like, it's fine.
Let's get into Q1 then and begin with talking about Esteban Ocon and Alpine in general, as they both were out in Q1. Gasly 17th, Ocon 18th. Ocon made a mistake, didn't he, going through the gravel, which almost certainly damaged his floor. But quite surprising to see Zhou, Gasly, Ocon, Magnussen and Stroll, the bottom five. But more importantly, looking at Alpine, what a washed weekend it's been for them so far.
Really, really bad. Yeah, just have absolutely no straight line speed. There's talk that they want the engines to be sort of equalised because they're struggling to catch up, which is a bit embarrassing, really, isn't it? Has to be said. And they've come to a track like this, aren't very quick, but also the fact that Ocon made a mistake which damaged his floor, you'd be like, oh, that's the reason they're out. But the fact that Gasly's out as well just shows that they are going to struggle if they don't have much power.
Probably worth mentioning, although I'm sure you watched it, Q1 was all about the hard tyres, Q2 was the mediums, and Q3 was the softs. Of course, we saw that previously at Hungary. This is the second time they've trialled it. And Zhou Guanyu, who was the Hungarian GOAT, didn't manage to make it out of Q1. It isn't the format that makes Zhou Guanyu the best driver ever on those hard tyres.
Yeah, it's interesting to know. It's a shame for Zhou. We didn't actually do a Friday podcast, so just to get it out there, that Alpha is sexy AF. What a livery that is.
Very sexy.
Really good. But didn't make it fast because Zhou was out and Bottas did a bit better, but not a huge amount. Then obviously the Alpines, and how many times do we need to talk about one, Magnussen being washed, and two, Stroll being washed?
Oh my God. I know he missed Friday running, but my God. It's no real excuse when you've got Liam Lawson up there on the 6th row of the grid alongside his teammate in his second appearance in Formula One.
Yeah, it's embarrassing now. I'm kind of almost bored about talking about how rubbish Stroll is. There's only so much that this whole him getting pole in a very good racing point in wet conditions can carry him for. That happened absolutely ages ago. So just go and play tennis or something, because it's getting boring now.
Wow. I mean, look, I did tweet that Lance Stroll needs to go and play tennis, but geez, Tom Bellingham coming in hot. Now let's talk about the issue that Ferrari had and I had for my mental health at that point, where both of the drivers were under investigation for not following the maximum lap time instructions. So that was a directive that was introduced after a bit of chaos in practice, and obviously we've seen it in previous years as well, where there was a maximum lap time allowed, supposedly, of 1 minute 41 between the safety car lines, and both Ferrari drivers exceeded that in Q1. Now, I haven't seen the full-blown analysis and insight into what happened and the reasons why they went slower, but there was potential for, if you go over that time, to get a penalty. I don't know if it's coincidence or if there's a little bit more to it, that they got pole and then immediately they were like, no further action, we value our lives.
100%. Yeah, the fact that the news came in, I think they said, weren't they going to investigate it after the session?
Technically, it was after the session.
Technically was after Sainz was on pole, and they went, nah, I value my life, the stewards basically saying that, because it was an incredible moment. I did worry that the fact that it was Ferrari again, I'm sure we'll find more facts about it and what actually happened, but it does make you wonder, communication again with Ferrari, has it become a thing where they've not abided by it and they've not got the usual from their engineers telling them to stick to this delta and help, because it is seems weird that they were the only 2 cars and it's 2 teammates both in the same team that it's happened to.
Let's go to Q2 now, where it was Tsunoda, Lawson, Hülkenberg, Bottas and Sargeant. Big thing for me there, I think, is Logan Sargeant bottling it. Logan had a chance to definitely make it through to Q3, but said he basically went all in around Parabolica, perhaps suggesting that his lap wasn't as good as he was hoping for up until that point. And then, 15th is not very good at all around a track that we certainly thought for both of them would be good, although we basically said it would be biggest flop because at the same time we thought the hype would perhaps override where they would actually get. But Logan, maybe half of that coming true.
It's annoying, really, and I've seen a few people mention it, and I'm starting to almost agree with it that Logan Sargeant's getting a bit of a free pass because he's a rookie and he's driving a car that everyone thought wouldn't be very good. But the Williams is good now. Alex Albon is showing that that car is actually good, and Logan's, I think, will be under threat if he keeps underperforming.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Let's see what he can do tomorrow because he has a very quick car in a straight line, so he should be able to pull off some moves because he is around cars that should definitely be slower than him. You got Bottas in front of him, you got Hülkenberg in that Haas, which we all know how bad that Haas is with tyre wear, and then you got the 2 AlphaTauris, which again should be beatable. Question from Jones RF873: could Liam get the seat full time, only 1/10 slower than Yuki on his first full F1 weekend? Yeah, let's talk about Liam Lawson because that is incredibly impressive and showing once again that he's adapting very quickly. He adapted in Zandvoort, where he had every condition you could possibly think of to try and drive around. He then has a much more straightforward weekend this time around. And to be that close to Tsunoda, I said it, didn't I, when Lawson came in, that Daniel Ricciardo should be a little bit concerned if Liam Lawson takes to this like a duck to water, and he's starting to do that. I'm not saying that Daniel Ricciardo won't get back into the seat, because he will, but if Liam has enough time to prove himself, the driver market could look a little bit different than maybe what we were thinking going into 24.
I'm still undecided about AlphaTauri, that which driver I think would be sweating more if Lawson continues to do this very good job and be on the pace, because the fact that Daniel Ricciardo's maybe got credit in the bank in terms of not previous, but also his marketing ability. We've said it when we did our driver predictions, that especially if this team is going to become this Hugo Boss Racing or something, and they'll want a star driver to lead that. And Daniel Ricciardo, if he's similar pace to Yuki, then maybe it's a case of Daniel Ricciardo and then it's between the 2 young guns battling for the seat alongside Daniel. Liam is doing a really, really good job. He's been very impressive. He's not like completely unbelievable, but he's just doing a really solid job in a very difficult situation that's like, yeah, he actually deserves to be in Formula One, I'd say, based on his performances so far.
Let's go to Q3 then, the big one. And it wasn't plain sailing for Max Verstappen and Red Bull because he made a small mistake on his first run, which gave me very much championship back on vibes at that point. But to then still be quicker than Perez on that first run, despite him also giving Perez the toe. Because I remember when he dipped that wheel in, and it was quite a deep wheel into that gravel. It wasn't just a kick up. It was a big old dip, which lost him probably a tenth and a half, I would guess. And Perez still to be slower. I was like, are you kidding me? But then it became a Ferrari 1-2. Carlos Sainz ahead of Charles Leclerc. I'm losing my mind. You're not on the watch along, Tommy, because you're busy visiting family. I'm on my own. I'm losing my mind. My train of thought is going to many different places. Come on! What's Max saying? It's so close. Oh my God, it's thousandths. Come on, Charles. Oh, Sainz is up even more. Charles over the line. Go on. Yes. Come on! Charles fastest! Oh my God, what's Max going to do in that last sector? What's Max going to do in that last sector? No! What about Carlos? What about Carlos? Yes! Sainz on pole! Come on!
Yeah, it was quite funny listening to the commentary basically try and claim that Perez being slower than Verstappen and the deficit was because Sergio had the mistake in Friday practice, and not that has been the case all year, pretty much since about Baku. Of all the tracks, Ferrari maybe just want that one-off where they're really good performance, you'd absolutely take it, wouldn't you, being at Monza? The crowd was unbelievable, the cheering. That being said, after the first run, I think it was Martin Brundle was kind of going, Verstappen's got time in the bag, because I think he was less than just under a tenth, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was,
off.
Yeah.
And it was like, he's gone in the gravel. So I think there's a bit of Max being inevitable in there, where our expectations are all very low, but it didn't happen. And boy, was it good again.
It certainly was. So Charles Leclerc was the first driver to go over the line in that final run, took provisional pole. I lost my proverbial S, and then Max stole it back by a very small margin, and you're thinking he's done it again.
It was like,
he's done it again. That's basically what I thought. And then Carlos with a great middle sector. You think, actually, hold on. And then he pipped it by 13 thousandths of a second, to the absolute eruption around Monza and in my studio, because, of course, it is amazing to see Ferrari on top at Monza. Yes, it's Carlos Sainz. My allegiance, obviously, more towards Charles Leclerc. We all know this. But a 1 and 3 for Ferrari with good straight line speed for the race tomorrow. Anything can happen in Grand Prix racing, Tom Bellingham.
It sure can.
What a moment that was.
And what a lap from Carlos. I said it. Yeah. We had a brief chat after the watch along and said that, Charles is the quali god. To beat him is no mean feat. And Carlos is just driving superbly well at the moment. He seemed to have finally got that Ferrari the way he wants it, which some would say is a shame that it's now happening when they're not fighting at the front. But for Carlos, he's really showing that he's kind of, if he carries on like this, he's going to be back to that driver that we saw at McLaren, where he was very well hyped, and he's kind of lost that hype a little bit. He's driving superbly well, and what a moment in your career to get pole for Ferrari at Monza. It's very special.
Oh yeah. He'll be remembering that for the rest of his life, I am sure. If he can convert it to tomorrow is another question, which I think we should talk about. Can they do it? That's the big question here. I think it's going to need a Charles Leclerc dive bomb into turn 1, lap 1, to make it a little Ferrari 1-2 at the start. And they're going to have to work together, because Verstappen looked like he had 3-5 tenths a lap, apparently Carlos Sainz said, after practice, which is daunting to say the least, and it would continue the trend of what Red Bull and Max Verstappen have had over the rest of the field this year. But it is possible. There are stranger things that have happened. I think it's going to have to require some minor damage into turn 1 and turn 2, or reliability issues to stop Max Verstappen. But that is something that can happen.
Yeah, you just put that into the atmosphere now, that I can just totally see the fact that Leclerc gets Verstappen into turn 1, and then you say about they kind of need to work together. I kind of want that to happen, but there isn't. Yeah, there ain't no way at the same time, because if you have Sainz and Leclerc together, Ferrari are going to have to make some tough calls to decide who's quicker, who's ahead. Imagine if we get another Austria situation where someone's in DRS and they're only quicker because they've got DRS, and they're really close now, Sainz and Leclerc, in terms of their pace, and that could create a bit of a headache for Ferrari if they're both on the radio going, I'm faster, no, I'm faster, because to beat Max, they kind of do need to work together. Maybe one of them throw Max off into a different strategy and they split their strategies, because Perez is not way out of it, but obviously not near the front. So yeah,
well, he's fifth. He's still there.
He's still there or thereabouts.
He's not far away. He's just got George Russell to get rid of, and then he'll be probably bearing down the Ferraris next as well. So that they can play something with Perez potentially tomorrow.
True. It makes me sweat a little bit that we might have to rely on Ferrari making some tough calls on the pit wall, which they don't tend to do, and they need to be assertive if they want to make it happen.
It's going to be that the spotlights are on Ferrari tomorrow. They have to execute the perfect strategy. Look, they've got rid of all the blunders now.
Please get a good start.
This is what they've been preparing for. We all thought that their mistakes over the course of this year, over the course of the last 2 years, was because they weren't great operationally. No, they were getting rid of all the mistakes for this moment, and it's going to happen. perfection tomorrow. At BYD Rob, will Sainz be the first new winner of 2023? Will Leclerc sit back in P2 if he is there?
No, he won't. This is
He'll
the
want to win. That's the thing. This could be the moment where, one, I have a mental breakdown, like fully, completely. And two, where these two potentially fall out. Because if they go side by side and there's a bit of damage or whatever, this will be the end of their relationship, in my opinion. Like that, there's no worse place. Sorry, I've hit my microphone. There's no worse place to potentially have a problem than the home race for Ferrari where they both want to win.
It's going to happen. There's going to be a moment where they fall out at the same bit of track, and surely they're going to, because they're very evenly matched drivers. But it hasn't happened yet. But now Carlos does seem to have, he's up there with Charles. They've got similar pace now, and it's going to cause a headache. It's a very interesting scenario, even though the Red Bull is miles ahead. Could be spicy indeed. Please be good. Please be good.
Please. Sunday, deliver. Come on. You did it in Zandvoort. Let's have it again. Let's also talk about Alex Albon. Question from Sam Williams 2410. How high can Albon finish? 6th on the grid for Alex. Again, delivering in that car. It's the characteristics of the circuit suit the Williams beautifully, and Alex has delivered once again in qualifying. I think that maybe I'd probably say 7th, I imagine, would be, or maybe even 8th would be his sort of target for tomorrow.
Look, the Williams does seem to be genuinely good now. It's good to see, actually. I'm saying this like we've not had the race yet, but Williams do seem quick around here, which is good to see, because I thought that they might not be any more. And yeah, it's another very good performance from Albon.
One final point from me is Oscar Piastri. Again, he was similar to Hamilton in some ways, where he just seemed to be clinging on to qualifying. He was leaving it very late. There was a few track limit issues, I think. But to actually out-qualify Lando Norris is not something he's done that often this season. In fact, even if he was to out-qualify Norris for the rest of the season, he still wouldn't beat him over the course of the whole season. So for Oscar to start 7th ahead of Lando, I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that as well.
The fascinating thing this year is that despite a year where Max Verstappen is obviously dominating, the grid is so close. And the way that teams, Red Bull have done this, other teams have done this, have set up that qualifying sometimes isn't everything. And they're so close that one little mistake can make you go from maybe a 3rd on the grid to 9th. But you've still got a quick car, so it's going to be fascinating to see if any of these cars, like McLaren, are a bit lower than we expect. Are they going to be quicker in race trim?
But we will see. We will be live on Twitch tomorrow. Tommy, you'll be joining me once again. You'll be returning for the race. Matt P1 Tommy on Twitch if you want to come and join us tomorrow, and for every other race weekend that we aren't at the venue. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and we'll see you very soon for another piece of content. And tomorrow, Ferrari win.
Clip it.